this one right here. Well, P. Diddy might not be going to the big poker. P. Diddy might not be going to the big poker. And wow, they don't put their puppets in jail. Let me give it to you again. Puppets, even if they do go to jail, they get back out. You got Bill Cosby, who went in, got right back out. I'm assuming they're going to get R. Kelly out soon. What's his name? O.J. Simpson, after he went in, we thought O.J. was never going to get out. They got that puppet out. You know, they don't really keep their puppets in jail. If they even do put them in jail, they're there to, you know, give you an illusion that, you know, they get the same justice as you, you know, just stupid stuff like that. It's the most ridiculous stuff that's going to keep your mind busy to make you think that you're on the same level with these people that, you know, the fact is, who knows if the guy is innocent or guilty, or, you know, if you like him or you don't like him. The fact is that these people, and we're not just talking about P. Diddy or Bill Cosby or, you know, anything like this. They're just part of a, let me say, just part of a, I gotta think of the right word. Let's just say they're part of Hollywood. Hollywood, that do weird things and have sex with men, women, you know, they've said children and all this stuff. We already know that, you know, the Catholic Church does, right? They they do these type of things, you know, the Pope and the priest and, you know, all these people. So most people that already know about, you know, this fake world and, you know, everything is just a stage. The world is a stage to be played. You know, we already know what's going on. We already know that most of these celebrities have been replaced over and over and over again. A lot of them, you know, wear a mask, you know. And, you know, it's sad to say, a lot of your basketball players, you know, when they retire, they've been replaced too. You know what I'm saying? The Hollywood is so deep, they can put on, you know, have you thinking this is the same guy that, you know, was before. Even NBA players, they just put a mask on them. They'll put a mask on them all the way from, you know, their chest up. And, you know, they'll paint them with makeup and mask and all this stuff. And, you know, it's funny to me, you know, when they was doing the Thriller video with Michael Jackson, they was even showing how they do these type of things. And, you know, the fact that they changed the Michael Jackson, and I don't even think they put a mask on Michael Jackson until, like, you know, he started getting to the real white Michael Jackson, and his nose start pointing up. And I think at the time when he had that baby with that white lady, I think that's when they started putting a mask on him. But before that, they just changed him. They just said, this is the new Michael Jackson. And people actually believed it. That's what's so crazy about it, how powerful the media can be, right? They can just say, you know, the dude wake up from being black, the next day he's mixed, right? And they'll say he cut off his lips, he cut off his nose, he cut off his chin, he cut off his, you know, cheeks. And not only did he do that, he did that several times where he cut off his, you know, because it's a whole new different facial structural guy they kept bringing you with Michael Jackson. And to me, Janet Jackson too, if you go back and you look at the you go look at the evidence. But, you know, they wanted us to believe that Michael Jackson basically over and over again cut off his cheeks, cut off his, you know, his forehead, cut off his chin, cut off his nose, you know, cut off all his bone structure over and over again to look different. What? If people act, this is how crazy it is, man. We don't really have like parents that would tell us as kids, well, this ain't possible. This ain't possible. So what they did was they just focused on the nose, right? But it wasn't just the nose. The dude changed his whole facial structure over and over again because he never did it. They just replaced the guy with with somebody else. But we won't go too deep into that. You know what I'm saying? People, the thing with people, this is like celebrities and stuff. This is like their feel-good hope in this world. So you take those type of things away from them, you know what I'm saying? They're heartbroken that, you know, let's just say, for instance, Michael Jackson would lie to him. Like, they couldn't believe it. Not the system lied to him, but Michael Jackson lied to him. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just not even trying to pick on Michael Jackson. I'm just saying, this celebrities in general, the world in general, they don't want to believe that the world has lied to them about who they are, where they're going, where they came from, and where they're gonna go. They don't want to accept that to be a lie, that they've been lied to. So, this is the lie is the only thing that keeps them waking up and going and participating in this, this lie, being enslaved mentally. Maybe believing in some of these religions. It's the only thing that keeps them going. Because in their heart they know this whole thing is a lie. They just, but it's just some hope that some of it isn't a lie. You know what I'm saying? Or they might have some hope that it's gonna get better. You know what I'm saying? They always want to give you hope, right? That's the key thing that Obama ran on, right? Hope and change. That's basically been a big thing with like every single president. Not their slogan exactly, but basically hope and change, right? One president comes in and he brings you total chaos. It might not be right away, but it might be like on a tail end, or some of them might come in and they'll bring you total chaos from the beginning. And then after 4 years, after 4 years is almost up, or 8 years, whatever, you want to change this guy because you have your next puppet saying he can make it better for you. And then that one comes in and brings total chaos, and you want another puppet. And that's the only reason why you want another puppet, is because you think that the next puppet is going to change something. You have amnesia that the play has been playing on you over and over again. And mostly the reason why is because your parents never taught you no better. Your grandparents never taught you no better, right? They just had to go along with the play with these puppets doing their thing. So the world is, it's just a crazy place, because it's like the same thing being played over and over and over again. And the people it seems like they have no memory of the movie, the bad movie, the horror movie being played on them over and over and over again, right? For some reason, they think the movie is gonna change or get better if they buy a ticket to watch it again. You know what I'm saying? They think because if they trade this actor, this is gonna be a better movie. No, actually, it gets worse. It gets worse. So, it's a lot of stuff that we can try to blame on the adults. I try to teach my kids reality, so they will get a sense of what life is. A lot of parents never teach their children reality. They don't want to, because it's too scary. But when their kids go out there and fail, they don't know why. They don't ever want their kids to learn about reality and learn about the world, because it's too scary. They don't even want to know about it. Most adults only care about religion and politics, right? So they will go their whole life and they'll pass away on religion and politics. They didn't teach their children nothing, their grandchildren nothing. And whether they taught their children religion or politics, I don't know. But even if they don't, the only thing that their children will learn, or grandchildren, from the TV or from this world as a whole, is religion and politics. Now, I don't see how this is all you can learn, because there's so much good stuff out there that has been put out there for a long time. Now, I'm not going to say it's all truth, because, liars still have truths. That's what they got to do to sell, some of the lies. And, most people that's trying to make money, they're only going to tell you half truths, because if they tell you the whole truth, you can be on your way and you got to go. They can't make no money on a full truth, so they'll always tell you half truths to keep you coming back. They'll always tell you half truths. So, yeah. I mean, to me, they done pulled P. Diddy off the scene a long time ago. P. Diddy been gone a long time ago. I used to do images all the time showing celebrities and how they replaced them. One thing that never changes in your whole life is your ears. Your ears will never, and I'm talking about the structure. The structure of your ears will never change. I forget. That's not bone. What is that called? I forget it. But the way your ear is shaped, it will never change, folks. It just won't. If you don't believe me, you can start looking at your kids' ears from right now until they get 20 years old, or your ears from now until 15 years from now. And I'm not trying to talk about like fat or skinny. No, I'm trying to talk about that structure. The lining in your ear never changes. It just don't. If you have some kind of, like Will Smith, his ears will always stay the same. You always have Dumbo ears. Now, if his ears start to change, something's wrong. That doesn't change. Certain things don't change on your face. Anyways, yeah, I started to do like, celebrity comparisons a long time ago. And it don't even have to just be the ears. It could be the nose. It could be the lips. It could be anything. And Michael Jackson played a big key in a lot of this stuff back in the day, because he was able to get people to be dumb. To where, if you think you saw a celebrity that looked different, you'd be like, oh yeah, they got surgery. This is where they got people. No, they didn't have surgery. It's just a person in a mask. They changed the person. Or a lookalike. It was a lady, years ago, working. They took a lot of this stuff off the internet and off of YouTube. But a lot of people worked in the entertainment industry, and she did for a long time. And she had a whole book and everything, man. She was telling how these celebrities, they just move on after a while, and then they bring in lookalikes, either lookalikes or they just put a mask on them that look like the celebrity. It don't matter if it's basketball players or football players, baseball players, or singers, rappers, Hollywood actors, whatever. People have talk shows like Oprah, and they just replace them, and then they move on into the rest of the world that you're not allowed to go to. Obviously, another reason why they promote the world being around. But you gotta remember, when Captain Admiral Byrd, when he went down to the South Pole, he came back up. Just look it up. He went down there for an expedition, and he came back up, and he said it's a landmass down there as big as the United States. And he actually, years later, he said that it was getting crowded down there. There was so many people down there, it was getting crowded. And that after that, I think this was in like the 40s. Before that, they always thought Earth was flat. Even the Bible still does to this day. After that, guess what? They Hollywood start teaching the Earth was round. Okay? And then the schools start teaching the Earth was round. And then you start going to space, all this crazy stuff, right? So, I'm just saying, it really doesn't matter if it's round or if it's flat. I mean, it does. I mean, it's a big thing. But I'm just saying, at this point, you're never going to go anywhere and be with the elites. That's just it. They've already thrown it in your face that, what they're saying, going to space and the world being round, is a lie. We would never know none of this stuff, that the Earth is flat, unless they told us. And they came out and told us that the world was flat. That's the only reason why you have people on the internet having this flat Earth thing, and because they're throwing it in your face. The elites are throwing it back in your face, that you can't go to the side of the Earth that they can go to. That's why it's a treaty at the South Pole and North Pole that nobody can't go to. It's a treaty by all countries, and it's guarded heavily that you can't go to those certain points. So yeah, she was talking about, they just replaced, those puppets after a while, because they don't want to keep working no more. But their celebrity can still be cashed in on. So, they just replace a lot of these puppets with lookalike puppets. That's what they do. And as you get older, your eyes start to open, and you start to see. I mean, I'm not going to say everybody does. A lot of people still sleepwalking. I'll tell you what's going to keep you sleepwalking is religion and politics. Politics is going to keep you very angry. If you don't know these people are on the same side, Democrats, Republicans, and whoever president, they're all the senators, they're all in it together. So if you don't know this stuff, and you think you're actually your voting counts, and you're Democratic and you're Republican and all this stuff, and you're going to get sick on this stuff, and you're going to stay dumb, and you're going to be full of hate, all this stuff. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. So that's up to you, man. If you're into that stuff, go ahead. I mean, I was into it when I was young, but once you find out what's going on, I mean, it's no different than what they was doing a long time ago back in Europe. But you had kings, right? Kings and queens, and you had kings and queens, and then you had the government. Well, They gave the people the illusion that the kings and queens really ran stuff when they don't. They don't run nothing. Okay, it's the government that run everything. It's the government. The king and the queen was just a show. Like the president is really a show, right? So, what I mean is, back then you had a king, and what would happen? A whole bunch of crazy stuff, right? He'd be cheating on his wife, or he'd be trying to start these wars, or he'd be feuding with somebody in a castle, sending people to death, or just all kind of drama happening with the king. Maybe somebody would kill the king, like his son or his daughter, or his brother, or and somebody else would step in and be the next king, and it's just crazy. They always bring you a whole bunch of drama. But at the end of the day, it was the government who really ran the show. Just like now, they give you an illusion that the president is really running the show. But the majority of the stuff he says he's going to do has to go through the Congress, has to go through the Supreme Court. All this stuff, he really don't run no show. He's just a puppet to give you an illusion that you have choice. Just like with the voting, they give you an illusion that you have choice, that you can vote. Yes, you can vote, but by law, the popular vote does not put the president in office. It's in the Constitution, right? Only the government, the House, the Senate, and stuff like that can vote the president in. And usually, whatever president, well, we won't get into that. Let's just say, if you're dumb and you don't know how it works, whoever spends the most money is basically going to be elected. Whatever party spends the most money, basically, that's who's going to get elected. And when I say that, is whatever companies and corporations come together and give the most money, they're going to get elected. So, these people like, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and, a lot of these people who gave money to the Trump campaign, they gave billions. And why do you think Trump won? Now, basically, all your laws are passed in the favor of these people who gave money. So basically, they're going to spend your tax money making laws so these companies and corporations can get filthy rich, more filthy rich, because they're the people who spent money to put these people in office. A lot of people don't know how the world works. They're just dumb, because you have people like on TV and they're trying to tell you that you make the difference and this guy's in here because you voted. This is the dumb world we live in, folks. This is what the parents don't teach their children. They don't teach their children what lobbyists is. The lobbyists are like middlemen to the politicians. So politicians can't give money directly to the politicians, so they use lobbyists to give the money to them, to make the laws, the way things are. So in instance, they would give money to the politicians to keep poison in your food, chemicals. So basically, some of this food that they put in or some of the chemicals they put in the food to keep it, on the shelf, because it has to, let's just say additives. I call it chemicals. And chemicals will be poison to the human body. So to keep this stuff on a long shelf life, they have to put these additives, chemicals, poisons into the food. In turn, that makes you unhealthy. In turn, that gives you all kind of, cancers and diabetes, high blood pressure, just different things. It is what it is, folks. I mean, I was knowing stuff like this, how the world works in my early 20s. You wouldn't even believe this is 2025 and how people are this dumb. And I know it's tough, because there's been a lot of chaos going on in this world for, in the 2020s and the 2010s and stuff like that. But you can't be this dumb to where you are in 2025 and believe this history, believe this science, believe this health, believe this, board of education. This is crazy, folks, in the sense that we act like this hasn't been an information age for a long time, to where you don't know what the hell's going on. And a lot of this stuff, when you look at it, you can see why they're replacing the people, right? When you look at all these people who have been coming in this country, I start seeing this about 2000. They just in my city, and I live in a big city, and I can see this start happening in 2000. And a lot of big cities experience this more and more. Well, let's just say a lot of bigger cities experience this way before my city did. Like in New York, there's always been a immigrant city, right? California or LA, what have you, of course, Texas, and a little bit of the East Coast, for the most part, the East Coast. I guess you could say Miami. But what they did starting in the 2000s, and when we talk about changing the people, you could always go to our small towns, basically across the country, right? There's small towns, and there's nothing there except for Negroes and, what you call African Americans and rednecks, hillbillies, right? This was the small town people. You never would go to them towns and see nobody else. That's just the way it was. Everybody knew each other, and it was just the blacks and the whites. It wasn't Jamaicans, it wasn't Haitians, it wasn't Mexicans, it wasn't Puerto Ricans or Cubans or Bahamians or Haitians, and none of them people. Them people were only in a big influx, and depends on where you went. Before the 2000s, maybe in Texas, you had a lot of Mexicans, of course, and New Mexico, California, Nevada, stuff like that. Maybe in Miami, you had a lot of Haitians, and you had a lot of maybe Jamaicans, the West Indian Negroes, and then of course you had a big Spanish influx, especially Cubans, and a little diversity in Miami as far as Spanish people, but mostly Cubans. You go to New York, of course, you had your Dominicans and a lot of Puerto Ricans. That was the biggest people. Mexicans, basically before the 2000s, wasn't even, it was after, it just didn't exist in New York like that. So of course, you probably, this is what I'm gonna say. You could, and I start seeing this in the 2000s. They just start flushing in all these people from other countries more and more into the big cities. And what I seen was black neighborhoods starting to disappear in the big cities, black communities, and basically immigrants taking it over. And by the time we got to now, it's crazy, because you go to your small towns, now your immigrants, mostly I would say Mexicanos, took over black communities in small towns. That's something you would never see, even white neighborhoods to an extent. You know what I'm saying? But to me, it's just changing the people, because time is up. They've always changed history. That's just what they do. And to me, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Nobody wants to tell you this, and it's cool. You can die being a fool. But to me, from what I look at it, the perspective and the evidence is that black people, we'll just start here. For white people, it's pretty much over for them. Their reign at the top is over. It's pretty much over. It's coming to an end, right? They're being, I don't know what you want to call it. They're being outpopulated. I think they're dying faster than any race on earth. In Europe, Canada, the United States, all over. So their time is up. They were never the majority anyway on this earth, but they had their time. Their time is up. Before that, black people was ruling the earth. Okay, black people just have amnesia about everything that was going on. that they was running the earth for hundreds of years, to me, before Reconstruction. And we won't even get into that. To me, I think it's kind of a good thing that they put that history, slavery, on white people, because that ain't white people's history. That's black people's history. And they were enslaving white people and all kind of different people and stuff like that. And to me, I know a lot of people's gonna get mad, but black people, they were the presidents, they were the kings and the queens. All the evidence is there. It's all in the history books pre-Reconstruction. And I think they're getting away with a lot of stuff that they did, and they're putting it on white people. And not that white people were in it too, doing a lot of stuff, but to me, when I look at the evidence, it was black people that were in power before the 1900s. And it's just not something I'm saying. It's something that many channels have put out. They put the evidence out. So I'm just saying, from what I know, that black people was in rule for hundreds of years before Reconstruction, and that was their history that they're trying to put on white people, and white people are cool with it. And I'm talking about the elite white people that's in charge now, because they this is their reign right here, after Reconstruction, or we can say Reconstruction on until now. White people have been in power, but their power is about over. And to me, it looks like biracial people are going to be in power soon, whether it's the mixed people all over the world, whether it's the mixed Indian people, Asians, Latinos. These are the people that's going to be in power next. And white people and black people are going to be under them, just like at one point white people was under black people, and mixed people was, and white people and black people and mixed people have been under white people. So the hand is going to change, and this is what's going to happen, folks. And they're going to change history once again. They're going to be like, oh, somebody else is going to have to play victim. Just the way it is. And they're all in it together. The whites, the blacks, the biracial people, they're all in it together to basically, what do you want to call it, rule over the people. So you can see what they're doing in the United States. They're bringing all these biracial people from other countries, whether it's Indians, Arabs, Asians, Latinos, and now you can see your West Indian people will take on the new African American, and Africans will take on the new African American identity. You know what I'm saying? The identity that they gave the Negro, the black, that had already been in this country for a long time. So you already see it now. A lot of West Indians, they'll be trying to claim this African American culture that really isn't theirs. You know what I'm saying? And no offense, but their people didn't grow up in the South. Their people didn't go through civil rights and all this stuff. Like it would be like me, I don't know, going to a West Indian country and claim that my people went through what those people were going through, or what their foreparents were going through, or their ancestors were going through in the Bahamas or Jamaica or Haiti or something like that. I wouldn't claim that, because I already know my grandparents weren't there. My great grandparents weren't there. My parents weren't there to go through that. My parents just came to Jamaica. So I'm a first generation. So I wouldn't be, I wouldn't claim that my people were part of the civil rights just because, now I'm black and I'm over in Jamaica, or whatever kind of apartheid or, stuff that, those people went through in Jamaica or Bahamas or Haiti or something like that. But this is called replacing the people. That's all it is. Because I didn't see no Jamaicans or no Haitians or no Bahamians in the South marching with Martin Luther King. And hey, they probably would be throwing up their flag if they would, if they was. Because guess what? These are the same people that's so proud to be who they are. They try to separate themselves from African Americans. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm cool with it. But what they try to do is, it's cool for, everybody to claim African American, Negro, foundational American culture in their history. But you can't go claim African American, Negro, Black American, can't go and claim some other history. They can't claim Jamaican history, Barbadian history. They can't claim Jamaican. They can't do that. Haitian history. They can't do that because they say, oh man, you don't know nothing about our customs, our culture, or, all this stuff. And they're right. I can't go claim Liberian. I don't know nothing about their culture, their customs, their, anything. The way they swag, the way they do anything. People from Ghana, they can't go claim they Liberian. That ain't how it works. But you have people from other countries will come over here, well, the black people come over here and they will try to claim the African American culture, history, and stuff like this. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy, man. It's just like everybody is like, able to do something like that. You know what I'm saying? Just like you wouldn't expect for like I don't know, let's just say if I was Dominican, me going over there to Puerto Rico, and just because I was born in Puerto Rico and my parents are Dominican, how am I going to claim the Puerto Rican culture? That don't make no sense in their history. I just wouldn't. I just would, unless one of my parents was, Puerto Rican, and one's Puerto Rican, one's Dominican, or if I'm there as a foundational person. Foundational don't mean 1 year. I mean, you're first generation. That ain't foundational. No. So this is what the United States does. They always try to change the people. And now, like your to me, what I say, outside black people, whether it's Africans, Caribbean people, now they're going to be the new African Americans. And I'm not trying to be mean, because when we look at it from a standpoint, especially in the big cities, the black culture from around the world has contributed to, American culture and black American culture as a whole for years. It's just not, it's always been like that. Especially when we look at New York, we look at, California and stuff like that. But in a way, a lot of these people are who we can say that did that, because, a lot of people get mad when I talk about rap music. And I say that, immigrants started rap music. But when you go back and you look at where they came from, they were either immigrants from the West Indies, or they were first generational from the West Indies, Caribbean, and stuff like that. But you got to remember, this is a music that the government started, the entertainment industry started, which was rap music. And a lot of these guys, it started with them because they didn't want, these guys having an attachment to foundational Americans. So if you go and get immigrants and first generational immigrants, they have no attachment to the foundational people here. Their attachment is either to the people that's back in their country, or the people who are here. And that's why they always use those type of people for their industries. And when you look at it as a whole, they've been doing that in the entertainment industry, period, in every field. So it's nothing new. And I'm just trying to tell you about life and about history. It's not had nothing to do with, where you come from, who you are, and hating and stuff like that. Because most of us was all immigrants at one point. That's just how it is.